Today, we have our dear friend and partner in business, very new thing for us, Betsy Westhafer, who is the CEO of the Congruity Group. And we are so happy to have you.
Yay, welcome.
Would you share a little bit about your business and even your background? That would be awesome, Betsy.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this. I'm so excited. I was so jealous of the other people I saw on your show when I see it on LinkedIn. I was like, I want to do theirs. So thank you. Super excited to be here. My name's Betsy Westhafer. I'm the CEO of the Congruity Group based in Dayton, Ohio. And we fall under the umbrella of strategic customer engagement. So everything we do at the end of the day has to do with strategically engaging executive level customers. And we do that through customer advisory boards, customer roundtables, industry think tanks, any kind of high level dialogue that needs to happen between executives and the executives from their customers. I've been doing this work off and on for the better part of 20 years. Absolutely love everything about it. Get up energized every day. We've got great clients that we work with, great team that does the work. And just feel very, very fortunate to be in a position of loving what I do.
Oh, that's great,
that's
Betsy.
Awesome.
How did you get involved in doing what you're doing?
Yeah, give us a little
what
do
what
the back in time.
Yeah. So going on 20 years ago, I got a job as an account manager working for a company very similar to Congruity. That company is not in business anymore, but I just fell in love with the work. The problem was at the time it wasn't a problem. It was a fabulous thing. I was traveling all around the world, delivering these customer engagements and loved it, but it was really not a great time for me to be traveling that much and to be that far away from my family. I still had kids at home. And there really wasn't an opportunity for me to have another role in the company that didn't require a lot of travel. So I started doing some work with a local economic development organization in town, working with actually a super fun job. I was looking for companies to invest in for an investment fund that was in partnership with the state of Ohio. So it was a really cool job. Got to see all kinds of creative, innovative people. And then from there, I worked at an entrepreneurial education center, also very cool. And then decided to go into business, co-founding a company in the legal technology space. And it was a really good learning experience. And I decided within about 2.5 years that is not where I want to spend my time. And so I sold out my interest in that to my partners, and that gave me just a little bit of runway to try to figure out what's next. And it's really interesting because I was kind of typical entrepreneur, all kinds of ideas firing in my head, like, oh, I could do that, or I could do this, or that sounds interesting, or that might be cool. And I was just all over the board. And I was doing that with a friend of mine who lives and dies by a black and white Excel spreadsheet. Thinks very differently than I do. And she was like, whoa, let's rein it in. And she said, what have you done in the past where you felt like you made the greatest impact? And I said, oh, for sure, customer advisory boards. And she said, why aren't you doing that? And it just never occurred to me to go back and do something I'd already done. I was thinking about what else can I do instead of what have I already done? So it was a great question for her to ask me. And it took me a nanosecond to answer. And so it was in that moment that I decided, why am I not doing that? And so that was almost 10 years ago. It'd be 10 years ago in May. And haven't looked back, haven't gotten distracted. It cured my entrepreneurial scattered nature because I think when you know you're in the right place, you just don't see all those distractions as an entrepreneur. So thankfully, and I'm sure my family thanks me for finally figuring it out, because I was all over the board for a really long time. So so that's how I landed where I am.
Wow.
Love that.
That's awesome.
I love that so much. So you know the business that we're in when it comes to kind of soft skills into hard results, right? That powerful business relationship that we are aiming to create between customers and account managers and folks in sales and customer service, et cetera, as well as, beyond those business units. When COVID hit, we saw a pretty significant change in the way that we relate to one another. We certainly aren't meeting in person as often. We're spending a lot of time on calls like this. What do you think is missing now that we're kind of coming back? Things are hybrid, things are, some people are trying to get everybody back in the office. What do you think is missing in business relationships that is a super powerful skill that you could wave a magic wand and everyone would have and possess?
The short answer is Gail and Bruce Montgomery. I think that would be great if everybody had Gail. No, I'm serious. What you guys do is so critical. And in fact, my team was just talking about you guys for a project that we just got this week. I'll talk to you about it later offline, but we were talking about how important it is to bring the fun factor. And, everything was so heavy. It's still so heavy, just the world is heavy. And that stifles creativity, and it stifles relationship building, and it stifles being able to dream about what could be and the art of the possible, and just all the things that are a lot more natural when the world's not heavy. And the work you do is so important to getting people out of that heavy space and making it fun. And I've seen it on the projects that we've partnered on together. I've seen what it does, and it makes people glitchy and uncomfortable, and that's a good thing. It's good to get people outside their comfort zones, because that's when the magic happens. And I love what you said about soft skills, hard results, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is getting those results. And that's pretty dry sometimes, like, did we do it or not, and just adding that emotional component to it, and the EQ and the fun and the relationship piece of it. I think you guys are in the exact right place to really help companies. And that's why I'm so grateful for our partnership with you, because that's not something we're necessarily the best at, but you guys are. And so being able to bring that to our client engagements is really, really important, because I think most people are not naturally good at it, and maybe don't even recognize how important it is. And with the weight of everything that's going on, I think that's the big piece that's missing.
Well, you're very kind.
Yes, thank you. We will slip you a 20 later. And two things that I can think of, one, I think weight is the right term, right? Everything feels so heavy. Everybody feels there's that whole term of just like plodding your way or slogging your way through the next thing. And as we're, as a society, asking our employees to do more with less and more with less and more with less, you just see these people who are like just completely weighed down with the experience of what they're living. It is wild to me when I think about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, their leaders are also weighed down and feeling that, and so it just kind of cascades down, and that makes it really, really challenging to work your way out of it.
You also used an adjective that I don't believe we've ever been described as, which is we make people feel glitchy. I appreciate that.
I love it.
That is a very appropriate term.
I'm going to put that in my bio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feel free. I guess we're even on the 20, slip you a 20 thing. So
there you go.
Well, I'll tell you, I right back at you. I love the work that the Congruity Group does. I think it's so incredibly valuable. And, it's not surprising that knowing what we know about you and knowing you, that this is a space that you've landed in that feels good. And it feels like you can bring value to the companies who are utilizing your expertise and your team's expertise. When you think about kind of a new client, or even just a client that you are setting things up with in terms of a roundtable or a true customer advisory board, what is the most fun that you have in doing that? Or the biggest surprise, the thing that you look forward to when it's like you have this new present, this new client or customer, and you get to kind of open the box and dig in? What is it that is feeding you the most there?
The thing I love, there are a lot of things I love about what happens in these engagements, but the thing I love the most is when an executive team comes to us and we have our meetings and we get aligned on what we're going to do. And they're like, oh, we're totally aligned. We we're flying in formation. We are solid. And then when we go into the prep session before, or even before that, in the first stage gate of what we do is our discovery session. And we are able to uncover areas of misalignment that they have not seen. So they have blind spots with their customers, but they also have blind spots with each other. And I have tons of examples of where we get in the meeting room or we're doing our discovery and we hear completely disparate things, but we're able to objectively, because we're a third party, we're able to objectively say, oh, that's interesting, because that's not at all what we heard from your CMO or from your CFO or whatever. And we're able to really see those things. It's no judgment call. It's just they're down in the weeds doing what they do, and it's hard to necessarily see it. And we're able to have that objective lens and say, hey guys, this could be a problem, particularly need to get it resolved before we put you in a room full of your most strategic accounts. Because we can't have these disconnects surfacing in front of your customers, because they're going to wonder if you guys know what the heck you're doing if you're not even singing from the same songbook. So I love that outcome, because that's a very unique, nuanced thing that our process uncovers, that you can't just go in and say, hey, find our disconnects. It comes out through our process. And the other good thing is, on top of that, when they get in the meeting room with the customers and they hear something at the same time, in the same context, in the same room, with the same people, it's real hard to argue. Like, we all heard the customers say this. So it's not anybody's individual agenda pushing whatever the topic is. We all heard it, and it fast tracks resolution of whatever it is, or strategic validation, or product roadmap, or whatever, if you're hearing it all together. So I love that internal alignment piece of it a lot.
Yeah, I love that too. Bruce and I were having a conversation the other day just about the word coach, and what that means. I was on the Peloton doing a training session, and I came downstairs and I said, I know that I'm capable, and I know that I can do things. And then when that person who's training is like, you got this, and you can do this, and dig down and trust yourself and do these things, I said, you need that. You think you have all the answers. And a lot of companies, I think, believe they know their customers so well, and they believe they know, and they are experts in their industry and in their field. And because they're so close to it, sometimes they really need someone like the Congruity Group to kind of pull them back a little bit and help them have a wider lens to be able to see both that internal and external intel that's going to help them show up better, deliver better products and services, and really collaborate with their customers, which is a huge kind of hot button word right now, is that collaboration.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, just in the last few months, we have recognized we've had a blind spot of our own, in that I was talking to prospects about customer engagement. It's so important. You got to do it. It really helps, blah, blah, blah. And when it comes time for budgets, that's a really nice thing to do. And we all get it. We want to do it, but it's a nice to have, not a have to have. And I've recently started reframing those conversations to, this is about accelerating revenue and mitigating risk. You can do both things by asking your customers. All you have to do is ask. And if you do that, you will accelerate revenue, you will mitigate risk. That's a have to have. Every customer or every client of ours has pressure to accelerate their revenue and not mess it up. That's and exactly right. So that's what customer engagement can really do. And that's a have to have. And so that was a blind spot for us. And so when we are helping our clients uncover their blind spots, then it's just really powerful.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, you talk about blind spots. I mean, a lot of great words that we're using. And then where did the name Congruity Group come out of? How did you get your name?
So it was the same day that I had the conversation with my friend that said, why aren't you doing this? And I was thinking a lot about it, and I was like, it's really about being congruent with the market, being congruent with your leadership team, being congruent with innovation, what's happening in the future. Like, you don't want to get left behind. It just, everything kept coming back to being congruent in all the different aspects of the business. And so that's how we got there.
I love that.
Yeah, you started Googling to see if you could get the domain name, and this is what came out. That's,
yeah, exactly.
That's what we did. Yeah.
Darn it, GoDaddy said that's taken.
Can't use that one.
That's actually why we're the Congruity Group instead of just Congruity. So we weren't able to get congruity.com, but last time I looked, nobody else has it either, but it's spoken for, but nobody's using it, so to speak. So but yeah, that's how that came about. And you know, it's fun because a lot of people have asked me that question and said, that makes so much sense. And so it's been very validating that we landed on a good name.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So earlier we were talking about just the heaviness, and Bruce, you mentioned it too, just kind of that's happening in the business world, kind of just in our world, period, not just in business. And I'm curious to know, as a leader of, a small business and a female owner, love that. What do you lean on? What's your go-to for working with your teams to help keep their morale high and, just motivate and inspire them? What are you doing as a leader that is working for you in that way?
Yeah, two things. One, it starts with me being able to keep my energy level up and being positive. So I try to work out as much as I can, eat right, all those things. I have recently come across an app that's part meditation, part hypnosis. And it's got this whole hypnosis library, and it's about 30 minutes, and you don't go deep or anything, but it just really helps with the meditation part. It's been super powerful for me. And I did one this morning about remaining peaceful and no matter the outcome. And we had a couple disappointing things happen today. Didn't go exactly the way we had hoped. And I'm just super peaceful about it. And so if I can remain that way myself, then that helps me do that with our team. In fact, we got on a call. Short story is, we thought a deal was going to be moving forward, and they had some budgetary issues and weren't able to. And so we were disappointed. And so we got on a call afterwards, and there was a little bit of glum in the initial hellos on the call. I was like, we're good. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And they said it's not if, it's when. And so they didn't say no. They just have some budgetary things to work out. So we're still in the game. I was like, it's all good. And we need to be peaceful and stay positive about it. So I do a lot of that kind of coaching. But also, I'll tell you, I was opposed to this for the longest time, but I'm so glad we did it. And I was kind of pushed into it, is our Slack channel. We communicate all day on Slack, and we have some really fun channels to try to keep that energy and motivation up. We have one just called Happy Stuff. So it's blowing up today with kids in Halloween costumes. And then we, one of our team members, resident of Asheville, North Carolina, and was devastated by the hurricane, just got back home this week. And so we put together ideas for care package to send to him and his daughters and that kind of thing. And just trying to do good things for people and communicating and throwing out ideas on the Slack channel, because we do have people here at the office, but we also have a very distributed team. So we have California, and we have people coast to coast that are part of our team. So just communicating on Slack has been a really big piece of our puzzle to staying united as a team, to staying energetic, to asking for help, just knowing there's a safe place to say, you know what, guys, I am overloaded. Can someone jump in and cover me on XYZ? And it's a very safe place to do that. And so I think that's been a big help.
I love that. And before we ask the next question or move on, if you don't mind sharing, what's the name of the app that you're using?
It's a guy named Joseph Clough, Clough. And he's got this huge library, and some of it's your typical depression, anxiety, those kinds of things. But then he's got really specific stuff for, like, if you tend to blush when you get nervous, or if you have a job interview. He's got some very specific ones. And so I just scroll through the library, and whatever hits me on any given morning, that's what I do. And it's really powerful. It's totally worth the paid version. I can't remember how much the paid version is, like $30 a year or something. Totally worth the paid version.
So Betsy, here's another question for you, kind of pivoting a little bit, is what has been the best advice that you've ever been given, and what was the situation around you getting that advice? So kind of give us the story and
Oh,
what was the advice you were given?
such a great question, Bruce. It was a personal piece of advice that also remains true for business.
Mhm.
And that is, just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. And I used to internalize everything everybody ever told me because I'm a very trusting person. And that can be debilitating if you believe everything you hear. And what more powerful message than right now not to believe everything you hear? That applies for me as a person, but also for the market, for competitors, what they're doing, for what our customers are telling us. They're telling us they don't have budget for this, but is that for real? Or do we need to keep the conversation going and dig a little deeper? And that also applies in our board meetings. Like we always coach our clients, when a customer says something, their job as the host company is to ask clarifying and probing questions to get to the root, because sometimes they ask enough really good deep questions that they're like, oh, I guess maybe that's not right what I just said, And so just being open-minded that just because somebody verbalizes something does not mean it's true.
I love that so much. This idea that, because we talk a lot about when we are training, when people, our leaders often have people come in, part of their team comes to them and they complain about something or they're upset about something. And often what they want to talk about has nothing to do with the first thing out of their mouth. And so true,
Yeah.
to your point, the customer might complain about this one thing and it's really not about that. It's, 7, 5, 3 whys down, greater, more open questions, more probing questions reveals the true nature of what's going on. And it's great that you're able to facilitate that for businesses.
I've got a really good example of this. It's a little bit tangential to it, but we did a CAB meeting probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a technical company, and they had 59 PowerPoint slides with 6-point font and 25 bullets per page. I mean, it was, despite our coaching, it was mind-numbing. And finally at one point, one of the board members said, I don't care about any of that. Here's what I really need you to understand. I want to know, how are you going to help me keep my job? How are you going to help me sleep at night? And how are you going to give me more time with my kids? That's all I need to know. If you can answer those 3 questions, I don't care about any of the how. I just want to know, can you do these things for me? This is what matters to me. And in our coaching, we kept advising this client that if you get too far down in the weeds in the technical stuff, even though these are technical people, you're missing the boat. That they understand technology. They don't want to talk about that. They want to know the bigger things. And I could not get that through, but then this customer was able to tell them. So in that case, it was far more powerful than my coaching. It was the customer saying that to them, and they heard it, and we all remember it all these years later. It's like, just those 3 things. Just tell me how I'm going to get to spend the weekend with my kids, And so it was powerful.
Yeah.
It's amazing how fundamental the needs are, even when we're in business. It's not just about numbers. It's about me feeling like I'm valuable, me being able to go home and not be stressed out, me sleeping, me spending time with my family, all of those things. Right. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. So and I think the misconception is that executive people don't have feelings and how home lives and challenges and, being in the sandwich generation sometimes and having kids at home and parents are taken care of, and like, they are just people as well. And I think that part of our success, is just from being authentically who we are and recognizing that they are free to be authentically who they are. And so I think that's a big key. And it's one of the things that does take some of the weight out. Just like, oh, great, I can just be myself with these people. It doesn't matter that they have a C in their title,
Yeah, I have to debate that every time because I have someone with a C in her title sitting next to me. So it's a little challenging.
It's not. C is for challenging.
C is for challenging.
And C is for caring.
Yes, the challenging executive.
Compassion.
Yes.
Compassion.
Corona.
Okay. Sure.
Well, Betsy Westhafer, we are so happy that we could spend a little time with you on our show.
Me too.
It's great having you.
You are an inspiring
That couldn't
leader.
have been over already. That went way too fast.
I know. You're an inspiring leader. We love what you're doing with the Congruity Group. We're so thrilled to partner with you and can't wait to just create magic with businesses and leaders now and beyond. And we just thank you so much for spending half an hour with us and letting us dig in a little bit more to behind Betsy Westhafer.
Behind the genius.
Behind the genius.
Of Betsy Westhafer.
Please.
I like that. Here's our title.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for the invitation. You know, I adore you guys. I'm so grateful that we connected a couple of years ago and that we've had the opportunity to work on some really cool projects together, and just looking forward to a whole lot more.
Awesome.
Us too. Thank you so much.
All right. You bet. Thank you.